Embarrassment's the entry fee. There are a lot of people making millions of dollars a year on social media because they're willing to be absolutely embarrassed.
You started New Primal from your kitchen counter, and now you're in over 10,000 stores nationwide.
Beef jerky had become like a gas station snack full of preservatives, garbage, things you can't pronounce.
There is a difference in clean meat and the processed stuff. Gosh, am I gonna have to break up with Whole Foods today?
I am the kind of person who works out. So if I believe that about myself, then I need to have a system in place to do that. I think when you get in circles of people who have been successful or who have created success, that one, it inspires you, and two, I think there's a lot to learn from those people.
I don't believe in no. My teams have always said that my favorite word is yes. I like to make yeses happen, but I also believe that you can make yeses happen.
I called everybody. I was calling Target that first month in. I was calling Publix. I was calling Kroger. I called all of them to see if anyone would give me a meeting. There's a consumer that's coming that's going to be looking for better options in this category, and they don't exist yet. I made it. I was rejected by my local farmer's market and then accepted by Publix.
Rejection is an all capitals word in the entrepreneurial business.
So what if somebody says no? It's never a no. It's just not now.
I feel like this is the most inspirational thing I've heard all year. Somebody knocked you down today. Tomorrow is a new day.
They said, hey, we're going to pass. I was like, you know what? No. No, we're not accepting that no. I remember my response to them was like,
so today I'm sitting with Jason Burke, the founder of New Primal. And you guys are on a mission. I love this. I had to write it down because I think it's so cool, to build the future of clean protein. I think you've kind of built it at this point. But you started New Primal from your kitchen counter, and now you're in over 10,000 stores nationwide. Is this right?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, let's back way up to the beginning, because you were at your kitchen counter starting this thing. This is wild. Yeah. I use my oven for storage, so this is a new game for me. But tell me why you decided to start New Primal, and tell people what products you have.
Yeah. So I wasn't trying to start a business.
Okay.
So really what was interesting is that my mom was a fantastic cook. So I didn't grow up cooking. It was stay out of the kitchen. She was going to do the cooking. My mom didn't finish high school. She went to work in a restaurant as a teenager, and went to work in this Italian restaurant where they had all these heirloom Italian recipes, and she really learned, some great, cooking techniques. But she also grew up in, she was Cuban in her descent, and so she had learned from her aunts and grandparents and so forth, all of those cooking techniques, and then blended it with these Italian techniques. And so wow. We ate really well.
Yeah, you really did.
We did. So I didn't learn to cook, and I was used to having a great meal on the table every night of my life.
Yeah.
Fast forward, circa 2009, both of my parents were diagnosed with chronic illnesses. Both were related to sort of diet and lifestyle. And I asked the doctors, I said, well, how do I prevent this from happening? Or is there anything I should be worried about genetically? And they said, no, you just need to make sure that you're eating well and, exercise and stay fit. And so I took that as a wake-up call, mm-hmm. and just to ensure that I was paying attention. And I joined a CrossFit gym. I was living in Charleston, South Carolina. I joined a CrossFit gym. It was in some guy's garage. And he just so happened to care more about nutrition than he did fitness.
Interesting.
And so he would always preach nutrition, and he introduced me to this concept called paleo, circa 2009, 2010, really early on. It was in its infancy, and not as a dogma, but sort of as just like a framework that would be simple to follow. And paleo focuses on clean sources of protein, high quality sources of fat, and lots of veggies and produce, and it's kind of it. Mm-hmm. But what the big takeaway there is, and that's a long way to say, I learned how to cook. And so I started reading ingredient labels. I started, buying, on the perimeter of the grocery store, and I learned how to cook. And from there, I would take snacks and homemade desk snacks and things to work with me. I was working in software sales. So the furthest thing from consumer products or from meat snacks that you could get. And I have a terrible sweet tooth. So I was trying to stay away from the afternoon candy bars.
Yeah, and you just said that's me.
Yeah, I do, and I still struggle with it. But I was making homemade beef jerky, as a good source of protein. And the idea there was that the protein satiates you longer. It'll keep you away from that afternoon sugar, rush. And I was making homemade beef jerky and taking it and putting it in my desk drawer because I couldn't buy anything at the store that was anywhere close to like meeting any sort of nutritional standard that I would have in my life at that point.
Yeah.
Everything, beef jerky had become like a gas station snack full of preservatives, garbage, things you can't pronounce, feedlot meat, and so forth. And I thought, surely I could learn how to make this. So I Googled how to make beef jerky, and I bought a $40 dehydrator and started making it at home.
Oh my gosh.
It just happened to be the one snack in my drawer that all my friends stole. And so I put a tip jar out. I made people start paying me for it. And before I knew it, I went from one dehydrator in my kitchen to 6 or 7. And I was making it all the time after work for all of my friends, and people were paying me. And, it became like a moment where it overwhelmed my kitchen. And I had to make a decision. Like, am I onto something here? Like, is this something I should like pursue a little further? Or, should I stop making jerky for all my friends? So that was kind of the genesis of how the company began. I ended up renting a 200 square foot shared kitchen space. Got it USDA inspected, set up a really bad website to test it out and see if people would buy this stuff. And people did. I spent the next year and a half making grass-fed beef jerky as my part-time job and selling it on the internet and to all my friends in town.
And when you started, did you have like a flavor? Did you have a couple of flavors? Like, what was the thing that made people gravitate towards this?
No, it was just clean. It was just an original beef jerky without the soy, without the sugar, without the preservatives. It was grass-fed beef. I think people, at least the people that I was speaking with, everybody like knew what jerky was or liked it or took it on a road trip or whatever. But we all knew it wasn't good for us. We all knew it was like really bad. So they were like, oh, wow, this is something that I can feel good about eating, and it kind of creates that nostalgic moment of my childhood when I'd go fishing with my dad or on a road trip with the family. So that was it. And I think, there was this early groundswell of people understanding the difference between conventional beef and grass-fed, and sort of you would really just start to get the groundswell of the benefits of grass-fed beef versus conventional beef. And I think there was like a small group of people really interested in that. That gravitated towards the product. And obviously that early paleo community really adopted it. Yeah, really adopted it early on.
It's interesting because I was a vegetarian for a lot of years, but I would eat deer jerky, and people could never understand this. And I thought, well, let me tell you how it is. It ate real food.
Yeah.
It lived a normal life. And if the person who shot the deer, sorry to the people who don't like to talk about this, I'm one of them, but if that person knows what they're doing, this all happened really quickly, and it was and this is very good meat. And I think that now more people understand that.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was like, wait, you're a vegetarian who will sometimes eat deer meat? This is very confusing. But it was the paleo vibes of understanding that, like, there is a difference in clean meat and the processed stuff that you're getting in a fast food hamburger.
Yeah. Totally.
So we've come so far. So you started in 2009.
Yeah.
And then at what point did you say, all right, this is no longer part-time, I'm going all in?
September of 2012, I put in my 2 weeks notice at my full-time job. And so it was really the first week of October 2012, I was full-time in the meat snacks business.
Yeah. And do you remember what that felt like? Was it terrifying?
Yeah, it was exciting, and it felt liberating and equally terrifying to know that there wasn't another paycheck coming.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, there wasn't going to be that next paycheck. And I kind of pushed all the chips in to this new endeavor. But I had so much support. I have to say, I had family support. My wife was support. All my friends had so many people that were cheering me on and rooting for me, and telling as many people as they could. And the local Charleston community really embraced what we were trying to do. All the local shops would carry it, and there was a lot of encouragement that I think really helped me in those early days.
Yeah, it really takes a village. I mean, we say that a lot, but it's so true. It's such a theme, I think, in nearly every success story, right? You're the person sitting here, but you're like, actually, let me tell you about the dozen people that are behind me.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your first stores, the first place people could go buy it that wasn't from you directly, were in Charleston.
Yeah.
And then at what point did you expand out of that? Because that is a beast to get into retail.
Yeah. Immediately. So, I have a sales background, and I feel like one of the skills that I have that I use is I can build relationships with people, and I thought I can go sell this and build relationships with anybody in the grocery world. And so I called everybody. I did two things. One, I went to Cliff Bar's website, and I don't mind saying this,
Yeah.
and they had a store locator. And so I would just go on their store locator, and I would look through all the bike shops and all the, local places that sold Cliff Bars, not the big grocery stores. We all know who they are.
Yeah.
But I would go through those because those were really easy to get to. I could find the manager
So
at,
smart.
John's Bike Shop in Franklin, Tennessee, for
Yeah.
example, and say, hey, look, I noticed you sell food in your shop. You sell snacks to the people who come in. I make grass-fed beef jerky. I'm the only one in America that does it. I'd love to send you samples if you'd be open to, trying it out. And, I would say about 50% of the time of the emails and calls that I made to those types of places, they all said, yeah, send me some samples. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
And then about 50% of the time, those guys ordered from me afterwards. So I immediately started calling everywhere I could based on that store locator.
So smart.
And then I also simultaneously tried to call every major retail outlet that I could. I mean, I was calling Target that first month in. I was calling Publix. I was calling Kroger. I called all of them to see if anyone would give me a meeting.
Yeah.
Um,
What was your
and,
first big meeting with one of those?
Publix. I grew up in Florida, and so it was easy for me to I shouldn't say it's easy to get into Publix. It's easier for me to call and find some, common ground. Which I couldn't do this today, but back then I cold called Publix. I called like their customer service number and asked, who's in charge of making decisions for meat snacks?
Oh
and
my
they put me
gosh.
through to somebody. Like, it was the wildest thing.
I miss those days.
I know, yeah, my broker can't get me a meeting at Publix today.
Yeah.
But I got through. The guy was like, "Cool, I'm doing a review in a few months. Call me back then." I did. He honored his promise. He gave me a meeting. I drove down to Florida. I showed up, and I said, "Look, this category is going to evolve drastically over the next decade. Everything you have right now mirrors what's in a gas station, but there's a consumer that's coming, which includes me, that's going to be looking for better options in this category, and they don't exist yet. I made it. Here you go." And I put it in front of him. He gave me 300 stores to start, and that was our first big anchor win.
Wow.
And we were off to the races.
That's amazing. Gosh. I mean, and I love the success story of that because it's the fun story, right? That's the pretty shiny moment that you're like, yes, I got in.
Yeah.
I got in Publix.
Yeah.
But I follow you on LinkedIn, and I will share your profile because I think everyone should follow you. I'm a super fan. I'm the person who likes every one of your posts. But you're really great at telling the whole story. And part of your story that I find just really fascinating is that a lot of yeses also meant a lot of nos.
Yeah.
And so you've been pretty open about rejection it's an all capitals word in the entrepreneurial business.
For sure.
So how did you, as you're excited, you're getting some wins, and then you're still knocking on the bigger doors, like maybe Target, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm in. But there's also that balance of you're in, and now you're really in. So you've hired people, and you've got space, and all of the things, and now you've got to make more money to make more money. And how do you keep that going in all of this rejection that's also kind of coming your way?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I was rejected by my local farmer's market and then accepted by Publix.
What?
So literally, I think it was the same month, the local farmer's market was like, no, we don't have space for you. And then Publix said, here's 300 stores. So, this weird kind of juxtaposition was the whiplash was wild to experience. But, there's two things. One, I think that my upbringing is really helpful here. And I'm very public in talking about, I grew up in Section 8 housing. And, my parents were blue collar. We didn't have a lot of money. And I was in a government subsidized apartment complex growing up. And so, nobody was paying for my car. Nobody was paying for my cell phone. Nobody was paying for my college. If I wanted nicer clothes, nicer shoes, I had to go figure out a way to work and do that. And I did. I didn't play sports in high school. I didn't join social clubs. I worked. And so, when you start from zero or you start in the negative and you don't have a lot to lose, like, so what if somebody says no? Like, so
Yeah.
I think there's like something, there's something in the DNA that's coded where I just truly don't care. Like somebody will say yes, and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
So I didn't really start with a lot to lose. And so when you start from that point, I think that helps. But what you mentioned was, once the engine starts turning, once it starts turning, then you got people. Now there's people's salaries on the line. There's brokers, there's distributors, there's suppliers. Everybody has to get paid. And so now I recognize, our income and our revenue, there are a lot of people dependent on it, even outside of our payroll. There's hundreds of people at our manufacturing partners that rely on us putting those orders in. There are tons of people from the company that makes our boxes to our pouches to the meat that comes in to the farms that we source from. All of these people rely on this now. So the stakes are much, much higher. But, this is my 13th year. I landed HEB last year. I landed Target this year. And so, I started pitching Target over 10 years ago. And I've been to those meetings for a decade. And every time we leave those meetings, it's like, sounds like there's an opportunity and nothing happens.
Yeah.
So one, I have enough of a pipeline where it doesn't matter. So, I don't rely on one thing to be make or break for the business. I never have. I'm always kind of casting a broader net because I know that not everything's going to hit. This will hit. So I play the law of large numbers. I cast a broad net. The pipeline is full. If somebody says no, I say, okay, great, next, and then we'll come back next year. So that is one thing. I also just I have such a heavy belief in what we deliver for the consumer that I know that person is missing out. I know that category manager who made the decision not to bring us in or not to give us the meeting or said no, I know they're missing out, and I know I'll just go create success in another place to prove to them that they're missing out until they're ready. So I don't know. I think it's a mixture of how I'm programmed.
Yeah.
And I think that's upbringing. I think I think you combine that with a really big pipeline of awesome opportunities that, I kind of look at it as it's just not now. It's never a no. It's just not now. And, I felt like I raised my first round of capital in 2014. And the people who wrote that first check actually said no to me first. They said, hey, we're going to pass. And I remember being devastated for about 6 hours. I got that email that said, hey, we really liked you. We really think you're onto something. Just not a fit for us. And I was like, oh. Yeah. Gut punch, and I really thought we might do something with this group. So that was a real gut punch. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I licked my wounds, and I was like, you know what? No, no, we're not accepting that. No. And I remember my response to them was I think we missed something here. Mm-hmm. And before you officially say no, I think we should spend another hour together. And we did. And at the end of that hour, they wrote me a check. And so, I think no's good for about 24 hours, and then we're back at it.
I wish that I could put into words all the feelings that I have hearing these stories, because I feel like this is the most inspirational thing I've heard all year. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I think it's incredible. I also believe that no is not it's just not a real word. And I don't believe in no. My teams have always said that my favorite word is yes. And I like to make yeses happen, but I also believe that you can make yeses happen.
Sure.
So I think it's really powerful to hear you tell that story, because it can be applied to anything. I mean, if that's not just going and pitching to Target, and also that your farmer's market and Publix, that juxtaposition of having a no and a yes, of those kinds of magnitude at the same time, that's real life. Yeah. I mean, that's just what we deal with all the time. And it's to your point, it's a not right now.
Yeah.
But if you have a passion and a belief for what you're doing, and you know that, I love that you're no, I know that this needs to get to the people that it needs to get to.
Yeah.
Then 6 hours later or 24 hours later, you go again. And I think that that's incredible. And I feel like that's, You're right. I think a lot of that is, it's powerful that you grew up in a way that you were like, no, I know to reach for the biggest thing out there.
Yep.
But I also think it can be learned, you know?
1,000%. I think it's been reinforced in my life and for a number of ways. One, I've always surrounded myself with people who are way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
And so I think when you get in circles of people who have been successful or who have created success, that one, it inspires you. And two, I think there's a lot to learn from those people. So I've always done that. I've always found myself in circles of people that are way ahead of me on the mountain. So that's helpful. I've hired coaches. I've hired therapists. I have read hundreds of books on everything from the subconscious mind to overcoming objections to, negotiating. I mean, I've invested in myself in that way to sort of really galvanize that belief. I think that matters. And I think that's where it's learned.
Yes.
I absolutely believe that.
It's one of my favorite books is Carol Dweck, Mindset. And I find that I go back to that book a lot. There's so many, right? It's like I could ask you your favorite book and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. It depends on what day it is.
Yep.
But that one really sticks out to me because I feel like you can change a fixed mindset. You really can learn to have a growth mindset, but it's effort. It's the putting in the work every day. It's those little things that you're continuing to do. And I think that that's what's important is that not everyone starts the day. Like I think you and I probably have this in common that we get out of bed ready to go. We're like, let's move some mountains today.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's natural for everyone, but it doesn't mean you can't get there and you can choose it. And so I think learning to say, hey, if somebody knocked you down today, tomorrow is a new day.
Yes.
If they knocked you down this morning, it's a new afternoon. Like just go. And I think that's such an incredible, powerful lesson.
Yeah.
You said something else that I think was not on my notes, but I'm really curious to know about because you started your business, you got your first round of funding in 2014, even after they said no, which is amazing. And then in 2020, like we all went through this crazy COVID thing together. And it's not fun to talk about, but I do want to just touch on it for a minute because I think it's amazing that you're still here. Because when you went through all of those things that go into making a product, packaging, manufacturing, all of the different components that you have to have, like at what point that year, was there a point that year where you were scared the bottom would fall out?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, there hasn't been a year of my entire career in this business where I haven't at least had the thought, like, what if the bottom fell out? Or like, what could really happen? When I look back at 2020, it's a blur today, which is really interesting. I always think, I'm like, man, you're such a blur to me. But we so happened to, like, we'd crossed categories by this point. We had started to sell things outside of meat snacks, and we had started to go into marinades and barbecue sauces and salad dressings and dry seasonings. And we had this entire pantry line called Noble Made where it was all inspired around cooking. And so we had the snacking business and we had all of this. And that business had a lot of momentum going into COVID. And we had just gotten out of meetings with Whole Foods at the end of 2019. And they had agreed to launch 13 new products in April of 2020. So we were racing to commercialize all of these products and get them ready to launch at Whole Foods nationally. And that was the end of 2019. And we were trying to scramble. You got to order packaging. You got to get the production lined up, all the stuff ready to go. And then March of 2020, the world kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. And we had already produced all of that product, getting ready to be shipped. And I wasn't sure if they were going to order it because nobody was shopping in stores. And so
we don't buy new products typically online.
No. And the majority of the products I was launching were glass bottles, sauces that you need to discover in a store.
Yeah.
And so two-part: one, are they going to order it? Because I don't know if they're actually still going to order it. Yeah. And then two, if they do order it, then what? Who's going to see it?
Yeah.
So that was probably the scariest moment of 2020. They did order it, and they did put it on the shelves, and it was the most difficult thing we could do to get anyone to actually try the product.
Yeah.
And I remember in 2020, we were at the point where we were ready to raise another round of growth capital to support the growth that we were experiencing. But you also there were no investors that were going to engage with any brands in that time. So there was definitely a hold on for dear life moment that entire year.
Mm-hmm. I'm really happy to know, side note, that Whole Foods did not cancel that order, because I was like, gosh, am I going to have to break up with Whole Foods today? I'm really glad that they
Not
didn't
today.
do that. Whew, okay, relieved. I was like, I can't handle any more cancel culture. Yeah, I think it was such a challenging year for every industry, but I feel like you had to be like on such an upward trajectory, and then it's impressive to me when I go into stores now to see, any brand that wasn't one of the big ones that made it through it. I mean, truthfully, even some of the big brands, like I know that there were brands that were in Target that they ran out of certain things. They didn't get back in Target for 5 years.
Yeah.
So it was such a challenging time. But I feel like what that says too is that you guys do have a loyal base and people who have realized that these are products that they want in their homes. Yeah. I mean, really, that's incredible, right? I think that does speak to the difference in what you're producing. So on those days, like in March of 2020, when it was kind of like, I don't know, is this the worst day that we've had as a company? You posted something on LinkedIn. I'll go back to LinkedIn one more time that I thought was really interesting recently about motivation. And I'm intrigued by motivation, right? Because motivation kind of only gets us so far. But you said something about, it was almost like a motivation versus, or is it motivation or is it systems and processes? And you made a really good point that you have a lot of good systems and processes.
Yeah.
So do you feel like those processes and systems, and tell us, like, give us a good one, give us a good inside secret, but do you feel like those are the things that keep you going on those tough days more than the sheer will to survive?
Yeah, because you can just default to it. And I'm not pre-wired for systems and processes. Ask my team. I drive them nuts because I'm just like, why are we? I fight against like over systemizing things because I also think that you can go too far in that direction, and then like you don't leave room for creative, being nimble and sort of being dynamic in that. So, but I do think that the systems free you. Mm-hmm. So what I've learned is that I think I'm one of the most self-motivated people I know. Like, I don't know very many people that are as self-motivated as me. And I also know when that motivation fails me.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if I'm being failed by this, people who aren't this self-motivated have to be being failed by them.
Yeah.
It's the same. I mean, the gym is a very good example where, I am the kind of person who works out. Okay, so if I believe that about myself, then I need to have a system in place to do that. Because I promise you, waking up at 6 a.m., I don't want to do it, and I don't want to go to the gym then.
Yes.
And I don't want to go to the gym at 4 o'clock because it's too late in the afternoon by then. And so, if I don't have it structured and scheduled in my calendar, I won't do it. But if it's structured and scheduled in there, I will. And I am the kind of person who likes to work out. I am the kind of person who likes to eat clean food. And so if I believe that about myself, it's not like I would like to go to the gym. No, I am the kind of person who goes to the gym. So if I believe that about myself and I reinforce that about myself, then that's who I am. And so from a system standpoint, I read a book a long time ago. I've read so, but I think it was Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning. Mm-hmm. And he talked about breaking your day up into manager and maker time. And I've had to fight like hell for this. But, the beginnings of my day, I do not allow meetings. Like, I do not take them. First half of my day, I just don't do it. Now, again, with exception, every now and then there's a fire drill or something has to happen. And like, okay, on that Tuesday, I have to take that call at 9 a.m. But almost never. My calendar is blocked off for the first half of my day. Don't call me. Don't send me a direct message. Don't send me a text. I'm just not doing meetings. Mm-hmm. That is my time to do my deep work. That is my time to think about strategy. That is my time to do all the things that I can't get to when everybody needs something from me. And then in the afternoon is my manager time. Great. We'll take all the calls you need. We'll do all the coaching you need. We'll do all the feedback you need, all the input, all the mind mapping, whatever it is we need to work through as a group or one-to-one meetings. We'll do that in the afternoon. But I'm absolutely not taking those meetings in the morning. So my biggest hack from a system, like a personal system standpoint, is first half of my day is for me. Second half of my day is for everybody else.
Yeah. I love that, because if you can block it like that, you are more effective for the people who need you, because 100%. Now you've done those things. You've checked them off. You've had your time. I think so many people should do that. I mean, when I was back in the day, when I was in sales, outside sales, I segmented my meetings in a similar way. Like, I knew that if I was going to call on private practices, I really needed to do those all on the same day. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter that there was a hospital, 2 minutes away, because that's a very different conversation.
Yep.
And so getting myself in a mindset of like, no, I'm going to be super productive with private practice today versus running around based on geography, made me much more successful.
Yeah.
My manager thought I was crazy at first. You know,
Yeah.
I had to prove those results. But I do think that more people are seeing that.
Yeah.
I wish more people would really lean into it because it's hard to protect your time like that.
You know, I just created a decision tree also, which I won't go into a ton of detail here, but you face a lot of big decisions every day, or I do at least. And I think if you're going to build anything, you're going to face a lot of decisions every single day. And there's a lot of exhaustion that can come with all of these major decisions coming at you. So I created a little bit of a decision tree system for how to think about all those big decisions. Let's just filter it through this decision tree. And so it's, I actually included it in, I may offer it as a free resource on my website now. I know I included it in a new course I just launched, but it is, it allows me to just think very clearly about, okay, what is the issue? How big is it? And like, is it something that has long-term effects, or is this a short-term effect? Right. And so you can kind of just filter everything down through this decision tree, but that's like a really good system so that I'm not just fatigued all day long by all the stuff coming at me.
Okay, so follow up after this is you're going to share that link. You're going to tell me where it is, and I'll share it with people because I'm like, yes, we all need less decision fatigue.
Yep, I got it. It's a one-pager. Put all your big decisions right through it.
Okay, we're doing that. Okay, so in the same vein, I love this. I have joked that I'm going to rename this show kind of like therapy because I sit here and I'm like, this is so lovely. I get fascinating information, and I hope other people are listening getting the same thing because it really is kind of like therapy. When you get to tell us these things that you're like, I've done the hard work. Let me give you a little cheat sheet here. So in the same vein, if somebody is listening and they have an idea and they really think it's a great idea and they want to start this, what's your advice to somebody who is working in a job and maybe they're at home making sourdough bread and they're like, hey, can I make a business out of this? Mm-hmm. What are like a couple of things that you would tell them to think about?
Well, first I would tell them to not overthink it, because at that stage, the stakes are very low. And I think you just have to go try. And, in my company, we have it's a core value. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. And like it's like, if it's 80% good, just go. And so like, if I were launching sourdough, it's a good example. And there were, I would absolutely start with friends and family and just giving a bunch of it away and saying, what do you think? Would you buy this? I would just collect a bunch of information about that. What would you pay for it? I would throw a party, have all my friends over, and serve it to them. Mm-hmm. And I would get tons of feedback from them. And then, I might extend beyond that a little bit and go into some of my local mom and pop shops and put it in front of them as well and say, what do you think? And is there a market? And could you try? And that's what I did with my meat snacks. It's exactly what I did. And could I put this on your counter and sell it on consignment? And like, you don't have to pay me for it, but can I put this here and see if anybody even cares?
Yeah.
And so I think there's like really early ways just to like try stuff. And then I wouldn't get caught up in like, I don't have the right label or the right package or the right website, or I haven't updated. Like, forget all that stuff. I just think you have to go put it in the wild. Mm-hmm. I think you learn by doing. And so I would just encourage them to get started.
Yeah. It's really good.
And just start throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall and see what sticks. It's the best advice I have for something that's that early. Without getting into like the tactics of like, do you have a business license? And like, did you file an LLC? And did you do some, and we can get into all of that. But I think if you've just got like a product idea, I think you just got to like get it in the wild as fast as you can.
Yeah.
My first product was vacuum sealed from a Food Saver vacuum sealed machine. It looked terrible. I printed a label that on a sticker that I put on this pack. It looked really bad. But I just wanted to see, does this taste good? What do you think about this? Would you buy this? What would you pay for this? Can I put it on your counter? And I just did a lot of that stuff. I don't know. Is the kitchen USDA inspected? I don't know. It's local. We'll see. Again, we're not shipping to Target yet. Right. So it's like, you just got to put it out there. And then, it's kind of like this, the idea is like, launch fast and then kind of iterate like tech does, just constantly getting better. And, people that come to me that are like, oh, as soon as we update our brand and our label, man, this thing's going to fly off the shelf. And I go, you're going to update your brand and your label 150 more times. between now and then. And so just don't get caught up in that.
It's a really good example, by the way, comparing it to tech, because I've never heard anyone do that. And I think that makes so much sense. I immediately thought of the first Apple, the first iPhone that I gave back because I wanted my BlackBerry back.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want this thing.
Yep.
And you're right. If they had waited, but in our minds, in our imaginations, we have all of these things we can bring. If you wait, someone else will do it. That idea will go away.
Just go.
So just go. And don't be embarrassed to just start.
Just go. Embarrassment's the entry fee.
Yes.
Embarrassment's the entry fee.
Please put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah,
I just love it.
When I got kicked out of the nest to actually start posting on LinkedIn or any social media platform for that matter, but I didn't know what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have to have this buttoned up thing to say, and I have to give this like really sage advice. And man, just talk about what's on your mind. Everything is just be authentic to you. And you're going to post a picture that you're a little embarrassed about, or you're going to say something that came out a little awkwardly. That's the entry fee. Am I embarrassed by my first 10 sets of packaging? Absolutely. But that's against the entry fee. That's what it costs.
Yeah. Oh, I needed to hear that today, because I think we all feel that way. We're so critical of ourselves, and authenticity is a little bit overused these days. I think we're numb to the word.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's overused because it's powerful. And I think that what you just said is real. Like, we all have to just show up as the most authentic version of ourselves and try. I would rather sit with someone who's trying than someone who's thinking about trying any day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There are a lot of people making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars a year on social media because they're willing to be absolutely embarrassed.
Yes. It's really true. It's true. I think we should make that t-shirt. I'm putting that on our takeaway
Let's
notes.
do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. So listen, I could talk about these things all day with you, but I feel like the takeaway for me is truthfully, gosh, there are so many. I'm going to replay this one for myself many times. You're going to be my new therapist. But I do think a couple of key takeaways that you said that were really critical. We'll start with the one we just finished with, that embarrassment is the entry point. And I think that's really true. I think that we can all do a better job in whatever capacity we're in, whatever your job is, whatever your goal is, whatever your ambition is. Show up for yourself and for the people around you and try new things.
Yep.
I think the other thing that you said that was really powerful for me was about growth and the constant pursuit of that. I'm going to make those words I'm going to encompass it all together. But I really think that that's what has probably gotten you here, is that you are not somebody who just says, okay, I made one good product and let's check the box. But you're constantly trying to do the next best thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this is, again, it's not just about food, although it's great, by the way. I mean, I joke and say I never would have had meat snacks in my Prada purse, but we're here. And I appreciate you doing that. And it's so nice that they're so readily available now. So thank you guys for all of your hard work. Your team is amazing. I've connected with a couple of them on LinkedIn, and they're just kind and engaging and energetic. So I think that you guys deserve a lot of success because you're putting it in, and I can tell that the passion is for the people and the product. And that's what makes it all go around. So
thank you.
Thank you for spending your time. I really, I'm such a fan. And you guys, I'm going to link in the show notes for you all of the things we talked about, the cheat sheet on decisions, on the decision tree. That will be amazing. Also, the new Primal website so that people can figure out where you can buy these products, Whole Foods, Publix, Target, and all sorts of places in between. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Sometimes a girl's gotta find her way on her own, free to roam and make mistakes.